You can all see my screen. We'll try to be quite executive, right? I suppose there's no need for introduction, at least seeing the list of people that have been connected. But this is the team of volunteers that have been working on the TC10 and TC11 over the last couple of years. And these teams, both of the teams, will actually change quite a lot from this year onwards. There's a new term starting now after ICPR. So this is basically the last time that we will be giving you this update, Alicia and myself. And would like to try to keep to the times so that we have a discussion at the end, which I think is important. So we're not going to spend a lot of time getting into details of things, but if you have any questions, please feel free to either stop us or keep them for the discussion at the end. So obviously 2020, we saw each other last time in ICTA, the last TC10 and TC11 meeting. And since then, we've had an interesting year. But I think we managed to keep it up to expectations. So over 2020, there are a number of things that took place. TC10 organized a special issue in ICTA, and TC11 had 2 events planned for 2020 that actually took place. I really have to thank again all the people involved in the teams of DAS 2020 and ICFHR 2020, Gernot and his team and Cheng Ling and his team, for everything they did. It was very, very difficult to put things together with trying to take decisions with practically no information. We had to move dates, we had to move everything online for the first time, and everything worked very well. So at the end of the day, we had the record participation in DAS. The DAS organizers managed actually to take on the full cost of the conference with sponsorships, since there was no physical venue to be paid. So they managed to offer a free registration to participants. And we saw countries that we had not seen before in DAS this year in the virtual conference. In both the DAS and ICFHR, we had quite a lot of newcomers. That's quite usual, actually. Every 2 years we get new people. The difficult thing is to keep them in the community, but the trend is continuing. We do have new people every 2 years coming to these events. And we did a survey at the end of both events, and all the participants, most of them between 75 and 85%, they said that they found the experience good and it was of high scientific content. So we're very happy with these events over 2020. Now, there are a number of things that are already planned, and a couple of things that are still to be planned, right, for the future. Obviously, the next big event for all of us would be ICTA in this September, and there are a couple of bids open, and afterwards in 2022, we expect to do ICFHR and DAS again, right? And ICTA 2023 is planned for the United States. So I suppose that Andreas Fischer, I don't know if Andreas is connected, would like to say a couple of words about ICTA 2021.
Yes, thank you, Imas. Maybe you can give me the full screen because I've prepared a little.
Yeah, go for it. Just share your screen.
I don't need to share the screen, I just need to be visible, so I think you just have to stop sharing yours. Maybe it works. Hi, everyone.
I made a spotlight for everyone. Yeah.
Warm greetings from Lausanne, Switzerland, where we are preparing the conference for you in September. As you have seen probably in the past couple of weeks, the scientific content is building up. We have a number of competitions and a number of workshops lined up. Among the competitions, there are 3 long-term competitions that have been going on a bit longer than the other ones, about scientific literature parsing, about historical document classification, and document visual question answering. Don't hesitate to still join all the competitions. I believe most deadlines are set to the end of March. There is still plenty of time to submit. The workshops, they just now have been announced, they have been selected. We are very happy to see the evergreens like graphics recognition, camera-based document analysis, historical imaging and processing, etc. So welcome again to all the organizers. A big thank you for your effort in putting that together. And I want to especially welcome the newcomers. We have 4 new topics in the workshops. One is computational paleography. So this might attract some colleagues from the humanities, looking at historical documents from a history perspective. Then we have document, image and language workshop. We have the document visual question answering workshop, both of them new this year, bringing in a bit more the natural language processing touch. And finally, we have also a workshop on graph representation learning that is lining up. Besides that, of course, there will be tutorials, there will be keynotes, there will be awards, everything that you know from previous ICTAR editions. But at the moment, the focus clearly is on the submission of the papers. The deadline is coming up on February 8th. And probably you're already writing on your papers now. Don't forget there is a new paper format, Alancias, which gives a bit more space in a single column format. And don't forget to anonymize your papers, so it will be, as usual, a double-blind process that also has a rebuttal phase. The acceptance notification will be on April 26th, and the camera-ready papers on May 17. May 17 will also be a deadline for a couple of workshops. So it's possible that you submit to the conference, the reviewers are not quite happy yet with the state of your paper. You can still take a month to revise, find a workshop where the topic is well suited and resubmit more or less about May 17. So this possibility exists. And yes, with that, I wish you happy writing for the upcoming days, and we are looking very much forward to receiving your papers, and we hope clearly to welcome you in September here in Lausanne. Thank you.
Thanks, Andreas. The next thing in our list would be, let's see, let me say again. Greg will also take place, obviously attached to ICTAR in September 2021. I don't know if Alicia, you want to say anything about that?
No, everybody knows Greg. So yep. You already know that this is a very highly interactive workshop. So we just be ready for the participation in the workshop. That's it. Perfect.
ICFHR will take place in Hyderabad 2022. I think that Anup would like to give us a couple of comments on that.
Yeah, hi. Very warm good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We would be very glad to be organizing ICFHR 2022 in Hyderabad in India. Let me try to share my screen. Let's see, I hope this works. Okay, so there is a website already up, icfhr2022.org. We will be adding more information to it. You can see the very basic information. We already have one of our program chairs is also part of the meeting here. Alicia is here. So, keep your good papers ready for 2022. There's a lot of time, but it's a beautiful place. We have organized several conferences in the past, and we will be happy to see you here. I'll play a short video about it in the background. I will hopefully the audio is not there, so that if you have any questions, it will be possible for you to ask the questions. So this is IIIT Hyderabad, and we would be organizing. We would be the team that will be organizing the event, and we have facilities within our campus as well as outside. So we will take a call on the specific details a little later. Yeah, if you have any specific questions, we'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, December is a wonderful period to visit Hyderabad. The weather is not too cold, not warm. It's a perfect time to visit Hyderabad and also see the places around. So, welcome, and please plan to submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anup. IGDA 2023 is also being planned as we speak. We know now a little bit more of details there. The plan is to organize it in San Jose, in California, sometime during August 2023. I don't know if anybody from IGDA 2023 wants to say something. I think it's a bit far in the future, but please keep it in your calendars, right? And what is probably more important is open bids, right? So we have been a bit slow opening bids for future events during this year for obvious reasons. It's not probably the best time to start planning and organizing events given the pandemic. But we have started publishing bids again over the past couple of months. And there are a couple of bids out, specific bids out. One is for the summer school that should be organized during 2021. We have some flexibility there. I don't know if Michael, do you want to say something on that?
Yes, thanks, Dimos, and hello everyone. It's good evening from me here in Sydney, but good morning and good afternoon everyone else. Just very briefly, the summer school has been a great success for the TC10, TC11 groups in the past. The most recent summer school was run in Islamabad in Pakistan by Faisal, who I believe is online. So he did a fantastic job, and previously in La Rochelle and also before that in Jaipur. So I just wanted to remind everyone the deadline is January 31st. So it's very, very soon. It's sooner than any other deadline. But as someone has cleverly put next door to the deadline, will probably be extended, is most likely a likely scenario. But what I would really encourage people here, because we've got leaders in the ICDA and DA community joining us, if you could circulate this or encourage people at your location to put a bid together to submit to Casey and I, Casey who's looking after it from the TC10 side. We really welcome even some innovative bids, particularly we are still in a situation where we could either go face-to-face, hybrid or virtual, but we particularly in the call that was circulated earlier to the TC11 and TC10 mailing lists, we're looking for innovative bids that may combine ways in which we can be interactive in a virtual or hybrid way. But of course, as Dimos mentioned, it could be run at any time in 2021, and hopefully by this latter part, it might be more feasible to run something face to face. So could I please ask everyone to circulate this to their groups, colleagues, researchers, to see if we can get some nice competitive bids for 2021. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. There is also an open bid for DAS 2022. As usual, after DAS finishes, a call for bids for the next DAS is issued. So this is the case here as well. Deadline for that is the 31st of March. So please send us any expressions of interest or proposals to the chair and vice chair of TC11. And we also this time made open a call, a non-specific call, an open call for expressions of interest for organizing future events. And the idea there is that given the pandemic and the difficulty on putting bids together during this time, we would still like to probe the community to start thinking about potentially organizing future events. So if you are thinking about it, do send us an email. Do send us an informal expression of interest to organize any of the future conferences, workshops, or summer school, so that we can start identifying people and working with them towards future organizations. No, so we try to be a bit flexible here instead of being very, very, very harsh with specific calls. Yeah, but I expect that the community will still keep in mind that there's a lot of things to be organized after the 2023 horizon. No? So start thinking about this as early as you can. You know? There's no real deadline for that, although the earlier the better, obviously, right? So if you have any interest in organizing any of our future events, do contact either me or the TC10 chair, Alicia in this case. And the one thing that I would like to focus on today is the document analysis and recognition strategic plan, which is something that we've been working on mainly over the past 1.5 years, but the discussions on this has started since 2017. So we have already presented progress on that, and we went through the timeline of this, both during DAS and during ICFHR this year. So I suppose that most of you have attended at least one of these presentations. I didn't want to do the whole thing again today. Just quickly to say that discussions on the future of our community started, informal discussions with the Future of DAR workshop that Koichi and Andreas organized back in 2017. We had a number of ways to interact with people back then. That was continued 2 years afterwards with the second edition of this Future of DAR workshop, that where we probed people for input actually before the workshop, and we had a number of debates afterwards. And by the end of ICDA 2019, we decided, and based on everything we had seen, all the information collected, we decided that there were a number of actionable points, and it would be best to set up an agile small group of people that could actually transform basically all the input that we had received into something, into a plan, a strategic plan that the TC10 and TC11 chairs could use over the next few terms, couple of terms. So we set up a task force, a small group of 10-15 people at the end that actually managed to meet in person just before the world closed in January 2020. And we spent 3 days looking into all the data we had collected, doing empathy maps to make sure that we don't leave anybody out from the planned actions that we were thinking, and drafting basically a list of actions that derived from a SWOT analysis that we did all together. And this was left to me and Alicia to work out and put together as a document that is readable, right? So we've been working on this version 1 document over the past months, with the help of the rest of the task force people, obviously, that we've been doing a bit of a back and forth with them. We opened the stage for discussions in DAS and ICFHR this year. So we presented a little bit of progress there, and there is a new version of the Future of Document Analysis and Recognition workshop planned for 2021, attached to ICDA. And since a couple of weeks ago, since December 2020, we have put everything together in a website. I can actually probably open it here in case you have not seen it. And we invite everybody to basically go through all the information that is there. We tried to capture basically the whole story from the beginning, all the way to what the open actions are right now. So you should have all the timeline here. We try to collect all the resources, including not only the current version of this document, but and the presentations we have given, but also links to all the discussions we have had. And there is also a video from the longer presentation that we gave in DAS this year, so you can have a look at that as well. There are open discussions, and there might be more open discussions in the future, or some of them might close as we collect some input. So feel free to participate in these discussions. We are using this Kialo online debate site for these discussions. I don't know if it's the best or the worst choice, but it works. So do visit these links and see if you have anything to say about this. And for any feedback you want to send us, there is a form online, and we would more than welcome any feedback on any point that you see that you would like to comment on. The idea would be to do a version 2 based on all the comments we receive over the next couple of months. Some of them are quite clear already, so some of the actions are already already been implemented. Others are less clear. So if there are any more comments, this is the time basically to do a final round of debate and collecting any other opinions to close this document over the next couple of months, right? When you download this document, I will not go through it in detail. You'll see that it is structured in a number of actions, which are grouped in some key lines. We try to put some description there. You see a bit of a color code in the description of the action, and the color code basically means that whatever is green, we consider that we can basically do. It's feasible. Whatever is in yellow, we consider it feasible, but it's not a short-term action. It's something that we should be planning basically maybe from after ICDAR 2021, for example. And there are a couple of items which are in red, which are still considering whether with the current structure, volunteered structure of IAPR and the TCs are actually possible to implement. So this is basically all the input we have got from the task force. Some of these actions are quite adventurous, and maybe they would imply also some structural changes in order to put forward. No? So this is basically what this is meant to be. Do have a look at it, and for any comments you have, please contact us. Very quickly, the strategic plan contains a number of actions in different titles, in different lines. Our identity and positioning is probably important to set clear. So that's one of the lines that we have actions in. We have discussed a number of actions in terms of the governing structure and the decision making in the technical committees. We would like to start thinking about having a general assembly, possibly in ICDAR 2021, if possible. We'll try to have a first round on a general assembly on the TC10, TC11 members. There are a number of interesting proposals about the economic model. One of them, for example, was to set up an advance to TC events. So maybe the TCs could help basically take the burden of or some risk of the organization of future events, especially things like the summer schools, which tend to be quite risky, and people do not step forward to organizing these events. One reason being the risk. So maybe the TC can help. That means that we need to create a sustainable model so that we can do that. We have already started with ICDAR 2021, looking into how we can implement this advance, for example, and a number of other actions in this line. One key thing that has been recurrent over the past 5 years, at least, in all the discussions we have had, is having our own ImageNet, having our own grand challenges, having our own kind of projection into the future. And by that, I don't mean short-term competitions, but things which are quite long-term and reaching much further than the usual actions that we have. This is there are a number of action points there, and this is a difficult one to actually set up, but that's something that I think will add a lot of value to the community. We looked into the awards and how we could structure the awards a bit better, give visibility to young awardees, for example, these kind of things, or longer term impact awards that maybe we would like to be introduce in our events. We discussed quite a lot about quality, about standardizing the reviewing processes, about what reproducible research means and how we could actually somehow identify it and highlight it in our conferences. One of the key actions related to quality was to have our flagship event, the Core A conference that we have ICDAR every year at a very specific calendar slot, so that people actually can plan on this on a consistent, recurrent manner. That obviously, if we do that, it would mean that other events would probably be impacted. So there has been a lot of discussion about restructuring events, and that's one of the open discussions right now. I think that there is consensus that having an annual ICDAR would be beneficial. The discussion is more on how this should affect, or how should we restructure the rest of the events if we go down this route. A number of actions on increasing the online presence of the communities. including maybe setting up a LinkedIn group for document analysis and recognition, diversity and inclusion. We did look into historical data. We have seen that there is a trend of reusing the same people. Maybe women are not very well reflected in committees and organization committees of events. So maybe we should think about ways to help promoting diversity and inclusion. Industry has been always important in our community, so there are a couple of actions also to continue working and highlighting basically all the things that we do with industry in our events, etc. So you'll see that it's a pretty broad list of actions right now in the strategic plan. So I do invite you to go through it and read them and send us any feedback you have. It's not possible to go through everything in 20 minutes, right? And you'll find basically two ways to interact at this point with this process. One is participating in the discussions, and the other is directly sending us any feedback you have. We can receive feedback by email, but the best thing would be to organize it through the forum so that we can at least organize all the input we receive in some way, right? And the next face-to-face, hopefully face-to-face meeting that we will have would be the acceleration of the future of document analysis and recognition. My expectation is that during this workshop we will focus on specific actions. For example, the grand challenges could be one of the possible themes that we could treat in this workshop, or maybe select a couple of key actions and that require face-to-face participation, try to promote work on these, right? And I think that's all from my side in terms of information, and I'd like to open up the meeting to discussions. So I think we managed to do quite well time-wise. So we have half an hour in case you want to discuss anything, or in case you want me to go into more details on any of the topics that we have discussed.
Yeah, maybe first of all, thank you very much for all the presenters, and specifically also to give an outline of this quite useful discussion platform. I like very much, and yeah, I'm going to think about it. And thank you for all contributors. That's what I want to say.
Thank you, Andreas. You're welcome.
I also have a small comment or idea. There is still this open call for SSDA 2021. Are there already some people having an interest?
Not that we know of. Nobody has expressed an interest to us yet.
Because we have some ideas of a concept which work quite well. We do a lot of distance teaching already for several years here, and developed now with our pedagogy experts a new concept for distance education, which has several short videos and then interactive tasks and so on for online participation. And a good time might be mid-August before the ICTR, so that the people are even better prepared for ICTR. We could prepare a tutorial. We have a small team here who would like to organize that. So maybe we will probably go for that, just to inform you.
That's fantastic, Marcus. We welcome your submission.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That would be nice. Any more comments, opinions, questions?
Dimos, I think that we could break the ice if you go back to the slide with the different axes, and then maybe we can start with concrete questions, because I understand that it can be quite tough to start without a seed. So I suggest that we take 2-3 items in the list, especially the ones that are more, tricky in the sense of having an agreement, so that we can start discussing them. For example, the grant challenges, I think that this is a great thing. And there are many different ways of doing this. And of course, we know that we don't have infinite resources. So we should also be realistic on what we would like to, with the dream. So I have a dream. Yeah, very well. But then let's see how far we can go with the resources that we know that TCs have, are just volunteering time. And then the restructuring of events, that will be also another seat to start with. Agree?
Sounds good to me.
Maybe I can just react on Alicia's proposal. Yes, that also came to my mind that these dimensions of discussion aspects are quite important, and in order to go a step forward and to keep this as a basis for discussion, what Alicia mentioned, I think we should not start at the next workshop to discuss about grant challenges, but rather make a call for proposals before, so that we could have something on our table during the workshop to discuss, so that the creativity is not limited to those people who are participating at the workshop, but rather ask the entire community, maybe through our newsletter.
Yes, I fully agree. I think that all these workshops work better if you initiate them before the workshop, right? So you have to go to the workshop with some information already there and some ideas already collected. So by all means, I think it's a good idea to open the discussion now, basically. Maybe just to continue on the line of Alicia, one thing that we could do is to show you what the open discussions look like right now, right? Because these are probably the items where we would require some more input. So there should be 2 discussions ongoing in this Kialo platform. And the Kialo discussions basically are not supposed to be a voting mechanism. So the idea there is not to say yes or no to the statement, but to collect opinions pro and against, for and against this doing something, right, or a statement. So one of the things that came up as we were discussing about this plan is that if we have a mid-long-term plan, which is fully shared by TC10 and TC11, and we jointly organize many of the things, does it really make sense to have a duplication there and have 2 different technical committees or not, right? So it's not something that should be solved now, but it's a bit of a contradiction to have a single strategy to implement and 2 executive branches, if you want, for it, right? So that's the reason behind this discussion. There are obviously pros and cons in fusing these 2 TCs or not. Maybe fusing 2 TCs and having a bigger number of volunteers, a bigger structure, might be much more effective. Or continuing with the current situation has other advantages. So that's one of the things that is currently open for discussion. So you can always see a summary of what discussions look like. So there is a statement, and there are things which are supporting the statement and things that do not support the statement, and then you can respond to these things. So this is basically a negation to the negation. Yeah, so you can get a high-level view of how the discussion is going. And at this point, the only things that exist in this discussion are basically the items that we collected while we were discussing about these things with the task force. So when you see my name here, it's not really my personal opinion at this point. It's just me acting as the the initiator of this discussion and collecting over there all the items that we discussed with the task force. If you see an item that is already written there, you can basically rank it. You say, okay, I agree or I disagree with this. No? If you see an item that does not exist, you can add it. No? And if you see an item that you don't agree with, you can respond to this item. No? So that basically builds a very nice tree of opinions about things. So I do invite you to participate in that. It would be very nice to see how these things evolve. And the second thing that we have ongoing is a discussion about how we should restructure our events if we decide to do IGDAR annually. So we had a discussion about whether or not it made sense to have an annual edition of our flagship conference, and the opinions were basically quite positive about it. It made sense for people not to have to wait 2 years to publish a good paper they have, or to go to publish it in a different place. It would be nice to know that the core event happens every year, and these are the dates for it. So quality-wise, it seemed like an obvious choice. As soon as you start implementing this idea, having IGDAR every year, you start thinking, of course, that if you have IGDAR in the same year as ICPR, DAS, and ICFHR, there is a pretty full calendar, so that would affect all the rest of the events. So the question there is, okay, if we do organize IGDAR annually, should we or should we not, and how restructure the whole set of events that we have? No, so this is the ongoing discussion right now, and there are a number of options over here. This discussion is a bit different because it doesn't have a central topic. It says, okay, imagine that we organize IGDAR every year. What are the pros and cons of different ways of doing it? No, shall we do a joint conference? Shall we just do it in parallel with everything else? Shall we fuse everything into IGDAR? What shall we do? So each of the different ways to implement that is a sub-discussion on its own, if you want, right? So what you see here is basically 5 different ways of implementing this, and pros and cons for each of the different ways, right? So you can get a high-level view that, for example, these seem to be the most interesting ones right now, but that's a very initial stage of the discussion. So please, it would be nice to have your input in this as well, right? Right. And I don't know how else I could warm up the floor for more comments. Yeah. I suppose that people lack a lot of information to actually say anything useful right now, so that's absolutely understandable. But if the way to chip into the discussion is clear, I think we have done already a big step. Yeah. Anybody from the task force that might want to say anything?
Yeah. May I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Koichi Kise, and I'm a member of the task force. The most interesting topic for me is the organization of IGDAR, so the one that you just showed. But the people may be more interested in having the discussion about the quality, because yeah, the quality, because we are going to submit papers, right? But the most interesting topic is the number 7, reconstructing events. This is the most important point for me, and I'm quite positive to organize IGDAR annually. Maybe some of you are not able to agree, but if you have a different opinion, please let us know. And also the quality of reviewing process is a quite important issue for us always. Thank you.
Thank you, Koichi.
May I? Because I would like to continue on what Koichi said. I mean, I think that it's more or less quite easy to see that it's good for the community to have IGDAR every year, because we have a core A event. So we know that publishing at ICFHR, even though we love the conference, just to put an example, it's not the same in the ranking as publishing a paper in a core A conference. So I think that this idea of having an annual IGDAR conference is fine, but then the question is how? Because depending on the how, things get messy, and I can see here that having 20 conferences the same year is a problem. How to find the right balance without losing the identity of the handwriting community in here, without losing the identity of the DAS people, because systems are also very important, especially if we link this to number 10, because number 10 is links with industry. So the how is really the big question here. Of course, we can keep on discussing, but I think that the main problem, and this is also something that we discussed at the task force, is that, yeah, a priori, as Koichi says, it's good to have a core A conference every year. The how is really a problem, and this is what Dimos showed. So there are some options for doing this that imply restructuring things, and depending on this, it can be a bit tricky. So this is really open to everybody, just to think on which is the best way of doing this. Opinions on this?
Maybe I can say a few words.
Yeah, please.
I also fully like this idea of having IGDAR every year, because it is a really strong conference. And I have a thought that there are also good IGDAR co-located workshops, but these can continue to be every other year. And then DAS could become also a strong co-located workshop at IGDAR, where people every other year then focus on these discussions around DAS, and maybe also ICFHR. So for me, for example, it became difficult to travel to all conferences. So having always this IGDAR and then some very interesting co-located workshops changing every other year, that would be quite interesting.
May I? Can I say something?
Sure.
So, yeah, another idea would be to have a track systems. So one track is document analysis systems. The other track of IGDAR is handwriting recognition, like ICPR. This is another possible way, just an idea.
Simone? Simone?
Yes. You hear me? Yes. Thank you to all of you. This is very good job. I think I had a look to the website, to the different options, and well, you had the chance to meet just before the COVID, but this was fine, I guess. And I some consideration about the restructuring of events, since we are discussing about that since many years now. And in the document you put, or I don't remember where it is, but not in the other document, there are very good proposals of merging different combinations, etc. And so I think we should try to go home, and not now, not today, but to try to see if there is in the community some willingness to change, to modify. In my opinion, we should. And before or after, decide what we want to do. And to do so, we need to define exactly the governing structure, as you mentioned in your initiative in your action L2. I don't know if it's the one shown. And because we can discuss it here, we can discuss at the next ICTAR, we discussed the previous ICTAR, and I have an opinion, and another colleague has another opinions. They are all good. But if we don't find a way to say, okay, let's vote, who has to vote, and go on, in 5 years, we will still be debating about, we have ICFHR, we have DAS, we have ICTAR. ICTAR is, I hope, it will be still Core A, Core A, etc. So I think, in my view, all the lines are important. But this is more, let's say, not urgent, but if you want to have, even if you decide today, it will be in action in 4 years or so, because there are already calls for conferences and already scheduled conferences, etc. I guess even if you decide tonight, it's not going to be before 4 years or 5 years that we have some change in that. And before changing, we need to define, to agree on a way to decide who is going to decide. And so it's L2, I don't remember which one, maybe I4 or something like that. And yeah, so I'm open to any proposal here. But I think first we have to decide who is going to decide. Sorry, it's recursive, the definition, so probably. And now I shut up because I talk too much. And of course, I can have ideas on that, but I would like to have some discussion on this point. It cannot be just, I don't know how many people are here in this virtual meeting today, and whatever, even if we are 200, it's not guaranteed it's the right group of people.
I share the feeling. So let me give a personal point of view there. I've been involved in these discussions for the last at least 5 years. So that's I really think that this should not go on forever, and we should make a decision as soon as possible, because, as you said, otherwise things are not moving forward. I think we have advanced much more than maybe you perceive in this slide, because we have had a number of opportunities to meet face to face with different groups of people. We gave different ways of people to participate. Not too many people actually did.
Sorry, I just break you for 1 second. There was a lot of progress. I'm not criticizing this.
No.
To be clear, I'm very happy with what you did in the last year.
Don't worry, Simone. I understand you perfectly. No, I didn't perceive that. No, I'm just trying to summarize things, and it's important, as you said, to make a decision. One of the key aspects there, exactly as you said, is that we don't have a clear decision-making process. In IAPR and in the TCs, and in these TCs in particular, we don't even know who are the members of the TCs. We have a list of people that have decided to participate to receive the newsletter, and that's basically what we treat as the members of the TC. So who should decide? Therefore, the idea of setting up a task force was not obviously in order to make a decision, but what we tried to do was to make sure that we involve in this task force, and maybe I should go on to a different slide there. Okay, this is from the ICFHR presentation, and I'll just try to put up this one slide. So the idea there was to make sure that we have a pretty representative group of people, that it's still a small enough group so that we can do some hands-on work. And we involve people from that have organized events in the past. So they should be people that have experience. We involve people that were planning to organize events in the future. So there are here people from the organizing committees of ICTAR 2021, of ICFHR in 2022, etc. We try to involve young people. We got young researcher award people. We got people from steering committees. We tried to have a good geographic coverage and everything, but still we were not happy because there are like 20 different ways to set up this group of people, right? So the first thing we did when we met back in January was to get on the same page, first of all, as far as data is concerned. No? So where do we come from? So we analyzed about 100 pages worth of plots and numbers that are available actually on the website if you want to have a look at it. Anything from how our conferences have been evolving and what kind of participation we've had over the year and how our acceptance rates are evolving, how our committees are organized and whether we have a lot of repetition or there is a healthy circulation there. How document analysis is actually reflected outside our own conferences. You know? So when people do not have IGDA, where do they publish, right? The packed calendar that we have and whether this makes sense or not, or it makes it easy or difficult for people to participate, etc., etc., etc. We asked, we did a questionnaire, but even with all this information, we still have this particular 20 people. So the first thing we tried to do was this. We tried to do an exercise to disconnect. We tried to design, to do what we call an empathy maps, to design basically to have templates of the kind of people that actually participate in our community, in our conferences. So we tried to create actions from the eyes of these people. And I think it was a very interesting process because it helped people not to voice personal opinions, but to think for whoever participates in our conferences. No? So I think it's important to know so that you know how we have managed to get where we are right now. So the information that you see shared online is not the personal opinion of Dimos or Alicia or the 10 people of the task force. It's actually the best summary we have managed to do of everything we have received over the past 5 years of discussion. So I think that just to cover your first point, I think that we have reached a maturity point that justifies making a decision, right? I agree that we don't have a clear way of making a decision, and I would like to have a General Assembly in IGDA, but I don't know also if it's worth waiting for figuring out how to do a General Assembly before you do everything. No, it's true that things will happen probably in 2024. We have already things planned until 2023. Maybe things will also take years in order to get into a new state. Yeah, but I think it's important for everybody to get on board with this discussion and have their minds more or less set over the next few months. And hopefully by IGDA 2021, we should be in a condition to make final decisions on a number of items on this list. Yeah, I don't know if that helps or not. No, I basically tell you, I'm saying that you are right in everything that you said, but at the same time, I think that we cannot wait forever. No, and we have reached the maturity point, which I think justifies moving ahead with certain aspects. More comments?
Andreas, you have your hand raised?
Yes. So it seems it boils down to the question, who is responsible for all of that? To my mind, the question at the moment is organization of one particular conference, which is ICTAR, and the way this conference is organized then impacts other events. So I believe in a pragmatic perspective, it could actually be the ICTAR advisory board changing the guidelines about the bids, receiving a bid for ICTAR 2024. And this bid could then contain a solution, what happens to the other events in this year. And depending on how that solution is perceived by the people, they could vote yes or no for that bid. There could even be several bids, one ICTAR 24, another one ICTAR 25. And maybe during the process of choosing one bid or another, implicitly the question would be answered.
Thank you. One small comment there. I think that I understand what you propose. I think that it's not only the IGDAR advisory board that should lead this change if it affects other conferences, because DAS has its steering committee and ICFHR has the past chair. So the task force was thought as a super group in this sense that includes members of the IGDAR advisory board, but also from the other steering committees. And maybe that's the best group of people to lead this change. No?
So I don't want to say to do it without coordination. It's just more about the setup, how it could actually happen in practice. I mean, behind the scenes, before even such a bid would be considered, there would be a lot of discussions among people interested to collocate maybe events in 2024. And at the time of maturity of the ideas, the bid would be proposed. But technically, it could happen in such a scenario, I believe.
Okay, thank you. More comments?
Simone?
Yes. I think the team you put together represents the overall community, and by far it's probably better than just the ICTAR, the people attending ICTAR, a given ICTAR. So I think it's a good. I don't remember the name you gave to this team, no matter. But still, this has to be like an executive team that provides some suggestions, and then someone has to decide. And I'm not sure what Andreas, this team here is good for me. It's perfect. I mean, I can change some names, but I'm happy anyway in the way it has been done. And so, of course, this is very good to put some proposals, maybe not 10, maybe just 2 or 3. 3 is the perfect number, someone says. And then we need to again say who is going to decide. And people attending a given conference is not the right people to do so, in my view. And only these people, 15 people is not enough, but it's better than probably also the ICTAR advisory board. I have been part of this in the past. And so in the past, I suggested that we should, it's not easy, but we should probably have a large enough number of people that includes, for instance, it's just one example, people who attended 2 or 3 events in the past 5 years or something like that. Okay, so you have people that is committed to the community, and is not just probably always an organizer of the conference, because you show, demos shown before, sometimes there is a lot of redundancy, so you are not open towards new people. I think this committee can propose also who's going to decide. And this decision is not required to be made online, physically, because we even don't know when we will meet again. But in my view, if it's going to, the decision is going to be set to say, we are not going to have another DAS workshop or whatever. Okay. In that case, simply we should stop calling for bids, and we should say the community, and we have to decide what is the community, decided to have ICTAR every year with this structure, and the call includes what is inside this overall structure. It can be ICFHR, can be DASK, also Greg. I didn't see in the various combination, probably missed this Greg. And so these are my suggestions. I don't know if they are clear, probably not. When we see each other in person, it's easier.
No, I think it's clear what you're suggesting. What you suggest is to decide on a rule. For example, whoever has participated in the last 3 conferences, create a list of people and make an online voting for this.
For instance, yeah.
Okay, so the only thing to
I mean,
decide is what is the rule.
a large enough group of people is maybe 100 of people, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be sure that whatever comes out, there are no discussions or people saying, no, I don't agree. And there should be some discussion before. Otherwise, you risk to have what happened in other communities. We decide to suppress I would call a non-conference on document analysis, just to mention any of these 3-4 conferences. We decide to suppress this, and the year after somebody says, "Oh, I want to do again this conference," and this is a break in the current pipeline. Okay, you can invent a conference whatever you want, and so this means we need a large enough bunch. And from this perspective, it's important anyway. Dimos and myself sometimes discussed about the utility, the usefulness of TCs, or of IAPR TCs. But in this case, if this is going to be proposed by the current TC10 and 11, or maybe we will have TC10.5 in the future, just one. If this is proposed by the TCs, it's implicit that the IAPR will not endorse or sponsor any other conference than those proposed by the TCs. And this is a flag, it's a label that can be very useful, because, for instance, if you want to publish with Springer, Nature, the proceedings with some conditions, this is allowed under the agreement with the IAPR. So, sorry again, I'm speaking too much, probably.
Perfect, thank you. We have already completed 1 hour. Let's do a last round of comments if anybody wants to say something. Otherwise, I think we can close here. The whole point here was basically to do an informative chat, so that you can then go home and have a look at these things, and know that in the next few months there's going to be some more actions taken. No? So we expect your participation. So Giuseppe, you wanted to say something?
Yes, very short. I don't want to repeat many things that has been raised. Just one thing. I think we have to take this opportunity to do a creative activity to design what we want to be a conference in the future. Of course, our conference. So in general, we want a high quality conference, high quality of the papers. We want to attract industry. We want to engage students. We want to open our borders to other communities. So this is probably the driving items that we have to consider. But also we have the experience due to the COVID situation with online interactions that hopefully in the future will go back to the physical way, but maybe we can mix. So I think to decide also is important what is the to what we are doing the transition to just a classical conference that merge the different events, or we want to innovate. So probably we should maybe in the next in the next IGDAR, in the future DAR workshop, we could do an activity of people just put ideas, maybe crazy ideas of what would be the design of this future IGDAR. And the second thing I wanted to say, it's just an information that I don't know if you have noticed it. I don't know how to analyze it, but just keep it in mind. In the last week in ICPR, there were, if I remember, 6 tracks. Traditionally, ICPR has a track on document analysis. This time it was document analysis and media, if I remember. So it was not exclusively on document analysis. But the warning is that this track had only 100 submissions or papers, 100 accepted papers. The second one had 200, and then the best one had 400 or 500, if I remember. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of COVID. It's because of ICPR is the same year than ICFHR and DAS, and then people cannot submit everywhere, or the interest in this topic is decreasing. I don't know what is the issue, but the number of submissions was very low. So keep it in mind, maybe to decide, to take decisions for the future.
Thank you. Any more comments? No? Okay, so let's, Simone, you have your hand raised. I suppose it's from before, no?
No, yes,
Okay.
I was trying to I'm using the tablet. I'm some problems with the tablet. Well, just a quick reply to Joseph, because actually this is not the only year. Also, the previous ICPR, probably in Beijing, we had not so many papers from our community, even if the general chair was, of course, from our community, Charlene, you. And this year, even if the track had 2 topics, we needed to push the ICTAR, the ICPR organizer, to add document analysis in the topic title. And so that's why we had more people in the track, more track chairs in that area. And I have been proposing to serve as track chair, and looking back to the submissions, even if the title was media and documents, nearly all the papers were from document community. But for sure, at least in the initial deadlines, it was not very useful for ICPR to have ICFHR the week before or the week after. I don't remember, just 1 week far away. And so we need to take this into account also in the future. Every year we do something close to ICPR, and if you want to manage things, that's all.
Yeah, there is congestion at this point in even years. Also, it's true that ICPR is a core big conference compared to ICDAR is ranked lower, same like ICFHR, right? So everything might be affecting this lack of participation in ICPR, and that's also something that we discussed in terms of restructuring. How would also this affect ICPR? That's another thing to keep in mind, obviously. More comments? No? Thank you very much for your participation, and we'll see each other hopefully face-to-face in ICDAR now. And in the meantime, for anything you want to comment, feel free to send us an email or fill in the feedback form or anything you might want to do. Okay, thank you. Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.